All right, let's dive straight into this explainer because we've got a massive, honestly mind-blowing revelation to talk about today. There is a hidden, thoroughly data-backed biological link between your specific blood type and your risk of developing cancer. Most of us are walking around completely blind to this, right? We're literally eating foods every single day that act like chemical warfare against our own biology. But we are going to change that today. We're going to unpack the exact antidote strategy to turn off those cancer-promoting genes based entirely on your specific blood type.
To put this into perspective, we're not talking about some fringe internet theory here. A massive study out of the Karolinska Institute analyzed over 1 million people. 1 million! And what they proved is that your blood type actually dictates your susceptibility to certain types of tumors, like gastric and pancreatic cancer. And it even dictates exactly how your immune system identifies those tumors.
And when you look at the data from a 30-year study tracking 100,000 people, you see these massive, undeniable differences in risk. For instance, type A faces significantly higher risks. We're talking a 26% higher risk for pancreatic cancer and a 20% higher risk for stomach cancer. Meanwhile, type B and AB show elevated ovarian cancer rates. And down at the bottom of the risk pool, type O actually has up to a 37% lower risk for stomach cancer and 14% lower for pancreatic.
Now, hey, if you're type O, you're probably thinking, awesome, I'm totally safe. But before we uncover why type O isn't completely off the hook either, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to keep learning how to weaponize your daily habits. We do these deep dives regularly to help you master your biology.
Okay, moving into Section 1, Cellular Spies and Security Badges.
To really solve this medical mystery and understand why these crazy disparities exist, we have to zoom way in on your red blood cells. Under a microscope, they aren't just smooth little donuts. They're actually covered in these tiny spikes called antigens. Think of them like security badges for your immune system. If you're type A, you've got the A antenna. Type B has the B antenna. These antennas are constantly scanning the environment, determining what is you and what is an invader. In a healthy body, your immune system spots a cancer cell, checks its antenna, realizes it doesn't belong, and boom, destroys it. But here's the scary part. Some cancers can actually mimic the antennas of your specific blood type. They effectively steal your security badge, so your immune system just walks right past them like nothing's wrong.
So how does this play out for, say, type A versus type O? Well, there's a verified connection between type A blood and gastric cancer, and it's all because of a bacteria called H. pylori. Type A's specific antigens make their stomach lining act exactly like a Velcro wall for this bacteria. They're genetically stickier to it, which leads to decades of chronic inflammation that actively damages DNA. On the flip side, type O cells act like stealth bombers. They literally have 0 antennas, making their stomach lining incredibly slippery. That's bad news for the bacteria, but great news for type O.
Now, what about type B and AB? Well, non-O blood types are an absolute magnet for pancreatic issues. Think of your pancreas as this highly tuned insulin factory. For type B and AB, eating the wrong diet, specifically a high-carb one, overheats this factory. This causes hyperinsulinemia, which is just chronically high insulin. And since insulin is a growth hormone, having it constantly elevated acts exactly like pouring gasoline on a fire for tumor growth.
And back to type O, I mentioned they aren't invincible, right? While type O has this incredibly aggressive immune system that acts like a pit bull to quickly kill off invaders, they have a notoriously hard time clearing out stress hormones. When unchecked, stress causes their cortisol to spike and stay high, it completely suppresses those pit bull security guards. So a stressed-out type O essentially disarms their own immune system, leaving the front door wide open for disease.
Which brings us to Section 2, agglutination, the danger loop.
So what's actually kicking off these vulnerabilities across different blood types in the first place? To understand the root cause, you need to know about lectins. These are proteins found in everyday food that basically act as nature's pesticides. When you eat lectins that are totally incompatible with your specific blood type, like, say, chicken for a type B individual, it acts like literal chemical warfare in your bloodstream. The lectins actively attack your antigens.
And because of that internal chemical warfare, your red blood cells go through something called agglutination. Basically, your blood clumps together like glue. And when that happens, microcirculation stops entirely. Your tissues lose oxygen, they become highly acidic, and they create the absolute perfect breeding ground for cancer cells to form and thrive. Ultimately, every single day, your food choices are throwing you into one of two cycles. You're either in the danger loop, where eating the wrong lectins causes gut inflammation and a leaky gut, entirely distracting your immune system so it misses a mutating cancer cell, or you're in the safety loop,
This is where you eat right, your gut is perfectly sealed, and your immune system is essentially bored enough to aggressively patrol your body, spot any mutations, and wipe them out on sight.
Let's look at how to fix this in Section 3, the 4-step anti-cancer protocol.
Let's pivot to the solution. This is your exact, highly actionable, 4-step checklist to turn off those cancer-promoting genes and create an internal environment where disease just cannot survive. We've got the acid shield, lectin elimination, the metabolic switch, and a secret weapon called fucoidan. Let's break these down real quick.
Step 1 is the acid shield. And listen up if you're type A, because this is absolutely critical for you. Type A individuals naturally produce very low stomach acid. You might actually think you have high acid because you get heartburn after eating meat, but it's usually the exact opposite. By taking a supplement like betaine hydrochloride, or just simply mixing a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and water before your meals, you artificially acidify the stomach. This creates a massive firewall, meaning that sticky H. pylori bacteria simply cannot latch on to your Velcro-like stomach lining.
Step 2 is lectin elimination. You might want to grab a screenshot of this matrix, because cutting out your biological kryptonite is vital to stopping that glue in your engine. For type O, wheat and corn create massive gut inflammation. You're going to thrive way more on grass-fed red meat. Type A needs to avoid red meat and kidney beans, which cause their blood to clump up, and focus instead on fish, turkey, and broccoli. For type B, chicken and corn mimic insulin and disrupt your pancreas. Swap those out for lamb, goat, or fish. And for type AB, you want to avoid smoked meats and corn, relying instead on seafood and tofu.
All right, step 3 is the metabolic switch. Cancer literally loves sugar, right? So we have to starve it. You can achieve this through intermittent fasting for about 16 to 18 hours a day. This fasting window triggers a biological marvel called autophagy. If you're just constantly snacking all day, your body is perpetually in building mode. But autophagy turns on your body's self-cleaning mode, so it can scour, break down, and recycle damaged proteins and even precancerous cells.
And step 4 brings in a really fascinating secret weapon, a compound called fucoidan, which is actually extracted from brown seaweed. Studies suggest that fucoidan helps block the connection between cancer cells and blood platelets. Remember how we talked about some cancers stealing your security badge to hide? Well, fucoidan effectively strips the camouflage right off those cancer cells, totally exposing them so your immune system can finally spot them and do its job.
Finally, we have Section 4, the oxygen and exercise twist.
Now, here is the wild twist that keeps people sick even when their diet is 100% perfect and they're following the first 4 steps to the letter. It's low cellular oxygen. As this Nobel Prize-winning discovery by Dr. Otto Warburg famously proved, cancer absolutely thrives in low oxygen environments. And what causes low oxygen? Well, sticky, clumping blood from bad lectins is one thing, but there's a second massive culprit: doing the wrong type of exercise for your genetic makeup. It turns out your workout has to perfectly match your genetic stress response if you want to properly oxygenate your tissues. If you're type O, you have hunter genetics. You need intense sweat, heavy lifting, and sprints to burn off all that adrenaline. If you're just doing light yoga, your body actually stays acidic. Conversely, if type A goes and does intense CrossFit, it massively spikes their already high cortisol levels and just crashes their immune system. Type A needs calming endurance, like hiking or yoga, to lower stress and let the oxygen flow in. And type B, you need balanced activity. Think tennis or cycling, something engaging but not completely exhausting.
The big takeaway here is honestly profound. Genetics loads the gun, but your daily lifestyle choices absolutely pull the trigger. You have the power to change your genetic expression just by tweaking your diet, balancing your stomach acid, and exercising correctly for your blood type. So be sure to drop a like and subscribe for more explainers just like this to keep your biological safety switched permanently on.
So now that you've got the tools to fix your diet, shield your gut, and optimize your workouts for your specific blood type, it definitely leaves you wondering, if our blood type controls this much of our disease risk, what other completely normal, everyday habits are quietly activating your hidden genetic landmines right now? Until next time, stay curious and keep optimizing.